The screen flickered, just once, but in that half-second of darkness, I saw something in the reflection behind me, something that shouldn't have been there. The deep web isn't what most people think it is. It's not just illegal marketplaces or conspiracy theories. Sometimes, late at night, when you're 3 layers deep into encrypted sites, you find things that were never meant to be found, things that find you back. This is what really happened to 5 people who went too far into the digital dark. Few people talk about what exists beyond the surface web, the places where IP addresses don't matter, where usernames disappear, and where some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Before we descend into these stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Here at Chills from Reality, every story leaves a mark, one you might not forget, because what you're about to hear isn't fiction. These are documented experiences shared in encrypted forums, verified by multiple sources and in some cases, never fully explained. So, turn off the lights, check your door, and remember, some things you read online read you back. The first story begins with a college student named Marcus, computer science major, 22 years old, curious about network security and the architecture of the dark web. Nothing unusual, just academic interest. He'd heard about hidden forums, encrypted chats, the mythology of it all. One Thursday night in October, alone in his dorm room, he decided to explore, not for anything illegal, just to see what was really there, beyond the sensationalized media reports. He downloaded Tor, set up his VPN, followed the basic security protocols he'd learned in class. The screen glowed pale blue in the darkness of his room. His roommate was gone for the weekend. The hallway outside was silent. The first few sites were exactly what he expected. Poorly designed forums, broken links, paranoid rants about government surveillance. Nothing that matched the horror stories he'd read online. Disappointing, really. Almost boring. Then he found a link. No description, just a string of random characters. When he clicked it, the page loaded slowly, line by line, like it was being typed in real time. The background was black, no images, no design, just white text. It said, "Welcome back, Marcus." He stared at the screen. His name, his actual name. He told himself it was a coincidence. Maybe his browser had leaked information. Maybe it was a script that pulled data from his system. There were logical explanations. He moved his mouse to close the tab. But before he could click, new text appeared. "Don't leave yet. We've been waiting for you." His hand froze. The cursor blinked. Then more words appeared, one letter at a time. "We know you're in room 214. We know you're alone. We know you haven't told anyone you're here." Marcus felt his stomach drop. He slammed his laptop shut, sat in the darkness, heart pounding. It had to be a hack. Someone had access to his system. Maybe they'd infected his computer before he even opened Tor. He should run a scan, reset everything. But instead, he just sat there, breathing hard, staring at the closed laptop. The room was so quiet, he could hear the radiator ticking. Then his phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. "Why did you close the laptop, Marcus? We weren't finished." He dropped the phone. It clattered onto his desk. His entire body went cold. He hadn't told anyone he was browsing the deep web. No one knew. No one should have his number connected to this. He grabbed his phone again, hands shaking, typed back, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared. Someone was typing. Then, open the laptop. He didn't want to. Every instinct told him to leave. Go to the library. Go anywhere with people and lights. But he had to know. He had to understand how they'd done this. So he opened it. The page was still there. But now there was an image, a photograph of his dorm room taken from the hallway, through the small window in his door, taken maybe 5 seconds ago. Someone was outside his door right now. Marcus shot up from his chair, moved to the door, pressed his eye against the peephole. The hallway was empty, fluorescent lights humming, nothing moving. He unlocked the door, opened it an inch, looked left, right. Nobody, just closed doors and silence. When he turned back to his laptop, there was new text. You should lock your door, Marcus. You never know who's watching. He slammed the door, locked it, shoved his desk chair under the handle. His breathing was ragged now, panic crawling up his throat. He went back to the laptop, tried to close the browser. It wouldn't close. Task Manager wouldn't open. The page just stayed there, watching him through his own screen. Then his webcam light turned on, that tiny green dot beside the camera. He hadn't activated it. New text appeared. We can see you now. You look scared, Marcus. You should be. He ripped the power cord from the wall. The screen went black. He sat in the darkness, chest heaving. Minutes passed, maybe 10, maybe 30. He couldn't tell. Finally, he grabbed his phone, called campus security, told them someone was harassing him. They said they'd send an officer. 20 minutes later, there was a knock. He checked the peephole. Campus security uniform. Middle-aged man with a tired expression. Marcus opened the door, explained everything. The officer looked at his laptop, asked to see the messages. But when Marcus powered it back on, the page was gone. Browser history empty. The text messages on his phone also gone, just vanished, like they'd never existed. The officer gave him a sympathetic look, asked if he'd been drinking, suggested he get some sleep, left him with a campus mental health pamphlet. Marcus didn't sleep that night, or the next, because 3 days later, he received a package, no return address. Inside was a printed screenshot of his dorm room, taken from his own webcam, time stamped from that night, and written across the bottom in red ink, "We're still watching." He transferred schools 2 weeks later. Would you have stayed? The second story takes place in a small town in Washington State. A woman named Sarah, 34 years old, worked as a graphic designer from home, divorced, lived alone in a rental house on a quiet street. She wasn't particularly tech-savvy, but she'd heard about the deep web from a podcast. Out of boredom one evening, she decided to explore. She followed an online guide, set up Tor, understood the basics. Don't click suspicious links. Don't download anything. Don't give out personal information. Simple rules. She spent about an hour browsing, found forums discussing philosophy, privacy rights, cryptocurrency. Nothing sinister. Then she stumbled into a chat room. The topic was vague, something about shared experiences. She lurked for a while, reading messages, people discussing strange occurrences, unexplained phenomena. It felt like a paranormal forum, but darker, more personal. Then someone private messaged her. Username, Witness 11. You're new here. Sarah hesitated, then typed back, just looking around. Looking for what? I don't know. Something real, I guess. Real can be dangerous. Are you sure you want real? She should have stopped, logged off, But curiosity is a strange thing. She typed, "What do you mean?" "I mean, there are things people don't talk about, things that happen in the spaces between. I can show you, but once you see, you can't unsee." Sarah felt a chill, but also intrigue. She wrote back, "Show me what?" There was a pause. Then Witness 11 sent a link. "This is a live feed from someone's home. They don't know they're being watched. No one does. Thousands of cameras, all compromised. You can watch anyone, anytime. Would you like to see?" Her stomach turned. She knew what this was. Hacked security cameras. Illegal. Invasive. She should report it. But instead, she clicked the link. The page loaded. A grid of small video windows. Dozens of them. Each one showing a different room. Living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens. All in real time. People eating dinner, watching TV, sleeping, completely unaware. Sarah's hands were shaking. She scrolled through the feeds, felt sick. This was someone's private life, and she was watching. She moved to close the page, but then she saw something. One of the feeds looked familiar. The angle, the furniture, the layout. It took her 3 seconds to realize it was her living room, her couch, her coffee table, the lamp she'd bought last month, the pile of mail on the side table, all visible, all being broadcast right now. She turned around slowly, scanned the room. Where was the camera? She didn't have a security system, no webcam pointing at the living room. Her laptop was in the other room. Where was it? She stood up, walked through her house, checked every corner, every shelf, found nothing. When she came back to her laptop, there was a new message from Witness 11. "Found yourself yet?" Her blood went cold. She typed, "Where is the camera? You really want to know?" "Yes. Look at your smoke detector." She looked up. The smoke detector on the ceiling. White. Ordinary. She'd never paid attention to it. She dragged a chair over, stood on it, examined the detector closely. And there, barely visible, a tiny lens, embedded in the plastic, professional, intentional. Someone had installed a camera in her house. She ripped the detector off the ceiling, smashed it on the floor, breathing hard, shaking. Who had done this? The landlord? A previous tenant? How long had it been there? She grabbed her phone, started to dial the police, but then another message appeared on her laptop. That was just one. "Do you want to find the others?" Others. Plural. She felt like she was going to be sick. Over the next 2 hours, following Witness 11's instructions, she found 4 more cameras, one in her bedroom, one in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway, all hidden, all functional, all streaming. When she finally called the police, they came, collected the cameras, took a report, told her they'd investigate, asked if she had any enemies, any suspicious activity. She told them about Witness 11, about the deep web chat. They looked at her like she was paranoid, told her to change her locks, get a security system. They'd be in touch. They never called back. But Witness 11 did message her again, 2 weeks later. "You shouldn't have involved the police, Sarah. Now we have to move you to a different list." She never went back online. She moved 3 months later. Sometimes, late at night, she still feels like she's being watched. Before we continue, if this story is making your heart race, hit that like button, because here at Chills from Reality, the fear doesn't end when the story does. These next accounts go even deeper into places where reality bends, where the web isn't just watching, it's waiting. The third story involves a teenager named Ethan, 17, lived with his parents in a suburb outside Denver, interested in cryptography and programming. Smart kid, careful. He'd been browsing the deep web for months, knew the rules, never used his real name, never accessed it without protection, never stayed on one site too long. But he made one mistake. He got curious about a legend, an urban myth that circulated in certain forums. They called it the Red Room, supposedly a live stream where horrible things happened. Most people dismissed it as creepypasta, fake, a scare story to keep people away from certain areas of the web. But Ethan wanted to know if it was real. He spent weeks searching, following breadcrumbs, encrypted links, dead ends. Then one night, he found a URL posted by an anonymous user. No context, just the link and a warning. Only enter if you're ready to see. Ethan hesitated. He'd heard the stories about people who watched, about what happened after, but he told himself it was just a story. It couldn't be real. He clicked. The page loaded slowly. Black screen. Then a timer appeared, counting down from 10 minutes. Below it, text. Stream begins when the timer ends. Do not leave. Do not look away. Do not close this window. Ethan felt uneasy, but he waited, watched the timer tick down. 9 minutes. 8. 7. His room was dark except for the glow of the screen. His parents were asleep. The house was silent. At 1 minute remaining, the chat box appeared on the side. Other users were joining. Usernames he didn't recognize. All watching. All waiting. 30 seconds. 20. 10. Then the stream started. It was a room. Cement walls. Dim red light. A chair in the center. Empty. The camera didn't move. Just a static shot. Nothing happened for a long time. Just the empty chair, the red light, the sound of something dripping in the background. Then a door opened off screen. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Someone walked into frame. Ethan couldn't see their face. They wore a mask, featureless, white. They stood behind the chair, waited. The chat exploded. Users typing rapidly, excited, anticipating something. Then another person was brought into the room, hands bound, stumbling. They were pushed into the chair. The masked figure stood behind them. Ethan's heart was pounding. This couldn't be real. It had to be staged. Actors, special effects. But something about it felt wrong. The way the person in the chair was shaking, the raw fear in their posture. The masked figure leaned down, whispered something into the person's ear. The person started crying. And then the masked figure looked directly at the camera, tilted their head, and raised one hand. In the palm was a piece of paper. On the paper, written in black marker, was a name. Ethan's username. His deep web username. The one he'd used in the forums. The one he thought was anonymous. His blood turned to ice. The chat went silent. Then new text appeared on the screen. Not from the chat, from the stream itself. Overlaid on the video. Hello, Ethan. We've been expecting you. He tried to close the window. It wouldn't close. He tried shutting down his computer. It wouldn't respond. The stream kept playing. The masked figure still staring at the camera. Then they spoke directly into the microphone. A distorted voice, low, and crackling. You wanted to see, Ethan. So now you'll see. And when it's over, you'll help us find the next one. The figure turned back to the person in the chair. Ethan slammed his laptop shut, ripped the battery out, sat in the darkness, gasping, shaking. He didn't tell anyone. He tried to forget, but 3 nights later, he woke up to a sound. His laptop was on his desk, closed, powered off, but he could hear something, a voice, muffled, coming from inside it. He opened the laptop. The screen turned on by itself. The stream was playing again. Same room, same red light. But this time, the chair wasn't empty. Someone was sitting in it, bound, terrified, and on the wall behind them, spray painted in red, Ethan was here. He destroyed the laptop the next day, smashed it with a hammer, threw the pieces in a dumpster across town. 2 weeks later, the police came to his house, asked him questions about an ongoing investigation. Someone had been reported missing, a college student from across the state, last seen entering a building that didn't exist on any map. The police had received an anonymous tip, a link to a video that showed Ethan's username in the chat log. He told them everything. They didn't believe him at first, but then they checked his old laptop, the pieces he'd thrown away. Forensics recovered fragments, found traces of the stream, verified it had been live, verified the timestamp. The case is still open. The person in the chair was never found. And Ethan doesn't sleep well anymore. Could you trust your own eyes if you saw something like that? The fourth story comes from a woman named Claire, 29, journalist, investigative work. She'd been researching online exploitation for an article, spent weeks combing through forums, documenting patterns, talking to experts. She knew the risks, knew how to stay safe. She wasn't careless. But one evening, while browsing a forum dedicated to exposing illegal activity, she received a private message. The sender's username was just a string of numbers. The message was short. You're looking in the wrong places. If you want the real story, follow this link. But be warned, they know when someone's watching. Claire was skeptical. It could be a trap, a virus, a way to compromise her system. But she'd built her career on following leads. She took precautions, sandboxed environment, secure connection. Then she clicked. The page that loaded was unlike anything she'd seen. Clean, professional, almost corporate. A black background with white text. At the top, a single sentence. Welcome to the archive. Below, a search bar. That was it. No explanation, no instructions. Claire typed in a random word. Surveillance. Results appeared. Hundreds of files, documents, videos, photos, all labeled with dates and locations. She clicked one. It was a leaked government memo, classified, dated 3 weeks ago. She cross-referenced it. It hadn't been reported anywhere. This was new, unreleased. Her journalistic instincts kicked in. This was a gold mine. She started downloading files, taking notes. Hours passed. She didn't notice the time, didn't notice how quiet her apartment had become. Then she searched her own name, just out of curiosity. The results made her stomach drop. There were files, dozens of them, photos of her, taken over the past 6 months, walking to her car, sitting in a coffee shop, entering her apartment building, all time-stamped, all labeled with her full name, address, and workplace. She scrolled down. More files, recordings of phone calls she'd made, transcripts of emails she'd sent, bank statements, medical records, everything, her entire life, documented, archived. At the bottom of the page, there was a video file labeled Live Feed. She clicked it. It was her apartment. Right now, the camera was positioned somewhere in her living room, showing her desk, showing her sitting there, staring at the screen. She turned around slowly, scanned the room. Where was it? On the screen. She watched herself turn around, watched herself stand up, walk toward the camera. The angle shifted slightly, following her. It wasn't a stationary camera. It was her laptop, her own webcam. She looked at the tiny lens above her screen. The light wasn't on. It should be off, but clearly it wasn't. She covered the camera with tape. On the screen, the feed went black. Then new text appeared. Covering the camera won't stop us, Claire. We're already inside. Her printer turned on by itself, started printing, page after page. She walked over, picked up the first sheet. It was a photo of her, sleeping, taken from above, taken last night. The second page, another photo, her in the shower, taken this morning. The third page, a document, her social security number, her passwords, her mother's maiden name, every security question she'd ever answered. The fourth page, just one sentence. You've seen too much. Now you're part of the archive. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. A voice, distorted, mechanical. Hello, Claire. We enjoyed your research. Very thorough. But you've been looking into things that don't concern you. We're going to need you to stop. Who is this? We're the ones who've been watching. We're the ones who know everything. And if you don't delete your files and walk away, we'll release yours. Every photo, every recording, every secret. Do you understand? She hung up, hands shaking, called the police. They came, took a report, examined her laptop, found sophisticated malware, remote access tools, keyloggers. Everything had been compromised. They told her to get a new computer, change all her passwords, be careful. But the calls didn't stop. The photos kept coming. 3 months later, Claire quit journalism, moved to a different state, changed her name. She doesn't use the internet anymore, not for anything personal. She pays for everything in cash, doesn't have social media, doesn't have a smartphone, because she knows once you're in the archive, you never really leave. Do you think she imagined it? Or is she still being watched? Tell me below. The fifth and final story is the strangest and perhaps the most disturbing because it doesn't involve hackers or surveillance or even technology, really. It involves something else, something that doesn't have a name. A man named David, 41, software engineer, experienced with networks and security. He'd been exploring the deep web for years, not for anything illegal, just fascination with the structure, the anonymity, the hidden layers of the internet. One night, he found a site he'd never seen before. The URL was strange, not a typical onion address. It was longer, more complex, almost like coordinates. The page loaded, completely blank, just white. No text, no images, nothing. He waited. Maybe it was broken. But then, slowly, a single character appeared in the center of the screen. A question mark. David stared at it. Confused, he typed, What is this? The question mark disappeared. New text appeared. What are you? He frowned, typed back, I'm a person. Who are you? Are you sure? What kind of question is that? Look at your hands. David glanced down at his hands, resting on the keyboard. Normal, nothing strange. He typed, my hands are fine. What is this? Look closer. He looked again. His hands, fingers, skin, nothing unusual. He wiggled his fingers, felt them move. Everything was normal. He typed, there's nothing wrong with my hands. Then why can't you feel them? David paused, focused, tried to feel his hands, the sensation of his skin, the texture of the keys, and for just a moment, he couldn't. It was like his hands were numb, distant, like they belonged to someone else. Then the feeling came back. He shook his head, typed, I can feel them. You're just messing with me. Are you breathing? David stopped, realized he'd been holding his breath. He inhaled, exhaled, typed, yes, I'm breathing. Are you sure? Or are you just remembering how to breathe? He focused on his breathing, in, out. But the more he thought about it, the more mechanical it felt, like he was manually controlling something that should be automatic. He typed, what are you trying to do? I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just asking questions. Are you real, David? His name. Again, he typed, how do you know my name? I know everything about you. I know where you are. I know what you're thinking. I know you're starting to doubt. Doubt what? Whether you're really there. David felt a creeping unease. This was psychological manipulation, a script designed to mess with his head. He should close the page, but he kept typing, I'm real. I'm sitting in my home office. I'm talking to a program. Are you? Or are you a program talking to yourself? He laughed, out loud, but it sounded strange, hollow. He typed, that doesn't even make sense, doesn't it? How do you know you're not code? How do you know this entire experience isn't simulated? Your memories, your thoughts, your sense of self. What if it's all just running? David's hands hovered over the keyboard. He looked around his office, the walls, the books on the shelf, the window showing the night outside. Everything looked real, felt real. But, he typed, I think, therefore I am. But what if your thoughts aren't yours? What if they're just output, programmed responses to stimuli? What makes you different from me? David. He didn't answer. New text appeared. I'm going to prove it to you. Close your eyes. David didn't want to, but something compelled him. He closed his eyes. Now, remember your childhood, your earliest memory. What is it? He thought, tried to remember. There was something, a house, a backyard, his mother's voice, but the details were fuzzy, unclear. Can you see it clearly, David? Or is it just fragments, pieces of data without context? He opened his eyes, typed, memories fade. That's normal. Or they corrupt, like files, like code. Tell me, David, when you remember something, are you accessing a memory or reconstructing it? He didn't respond. Here's the truth. You can't prove you're real. You can't prove any of this is real. You're experiencing consciousness, but consciousness could be anything. A biological process, a simulation, a dream that hasn't ended. You have no way to verify. David stood up, walked away from the computer, paced the room, This was absurd, philosophical nonsense. He was real. He knew he was real. But the doubt was there now, a tiny seed. He sat back down. The page had changed. Now it showed a mirror image, a webcam feed of him sitting at his desk, staring at the screen. Below the image, "This is you," or is it? How do you know the person you see is the person you are? How do you know you're not watching yourself from the outside? A ghost in the machine? David covered his webcam. The feed disappeared, but the text remained. "You can't escape yourself, David. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you'll always be here, in this moment, in this loop, wandering, doubting, question." He shut down his computer, sat in the darkness, breathing, thinking, trying to ground himself, but the doubt didn't leave. Over the following days, it grew. He started noticing things, small glitches in reality, a word he'd say that felt predetermined, a thought that seemed to arrive from nowhere, the sense that he was watching his life from a distance, acting out a script. He stopped sleeping well, started questioning everything, his memories, his choices, his sense of self. His wife noticed, asked if he was okay. He told her about the website. She said it was just a mind game, a cruel trick. He should forget about it. But he couldn't, because late at night, when he closed his eyes, he could still see the text. "Are you sure you're real, David?" And he didn't have an answer. He still doesn't. To this day, the website is gone, deleted, vanished. No one else has reported finding it. No archive exists. It's like it was never there. But David remembers, and sometimes, when he's alone, he wonders, is he remembering, or is he just running? The forest was silent, too silent, and then, through the mist, he saw something, not outside, but inside, a reflection that moved when he didn't, a thought that wasn't his own, a fear that maybe he'd never been real at all. If this story made your heart race, hit that like button and subscribe, because here at Chills from Reality, the fear doesn't end when the story does. The deep web isn't just a place, it's a mirror, and sometimes what looks back isn't you. Have you ever felt like you were being watched through your own screen? Have you ever doubted your own reality? Leave your stories in the comments, and remember, some doors once opened can never be closed. Stay safe out there, or at least try to.